forgive anyone, even when you forgive yourself, you're respecting yourself. That is an act of self-love. Now, it's funny because this is a topic that I've always loved. Once I got to a point where I completely understood the true meaning of forgiveness. And this is something that I've always loved to discuss with others and debate with others. Let's first welcome back your favorite guest, Jyselle. I didn't want to call this a Jackson versus Jyselle because I understand that she may not have the complete understanding of what forgiveness is, for one. So I didn't really want to debate about it. I didn't want to call this a debate. I want to call this just a discussion. Also because I don't want to focus so much on the conversation we have together about forgiveness more than what I want to have you guys realize and tell you guys about forgiveness, because I want to really be a conversation with me and you, all of us. So,
if your son killed his wife and 2 children, would you forgive him?
And my answer was yes, I would forgive him.
What?
Did you write this answer down?
No, girl.
Okay. What is your definition of forgiveness, and what does it mean to you?
So, like, a situation happens, and you're taking time to, like, how do you explain it? Like,
I would help you, but this is your definition. I don't know how you're trying to word it. I really don't know how you're trying to word it. Let it go?
Yeah, like, just, like, nah, bro, I can't explain it. Like,
5 minutes later.
Forgiveness to me is taking something and realizing, okay, what they did was not okay, but I still
11 minutes later.
I'm not trying to have this is 10 minutes of you not defining like,
okay, but it's not bringing it up over and over, you know what I mean? Yeah, nothing's gonna change if you do or don't forgive someone. Like, maybe for you it is.
I would like to respond to that.
But for them, and when you forgive someone, like, you're doing it. Nah.
I know exactly what you're about to say. You're about to say you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah, like,
whether you do or don't forgive someone, nothing changes, you said?
I don't feel like it would change on their part.
So what changes on your part?
Like, maybe, like, really, like, you just feel relieved, or, like, like...
Is this are these your thoughts or things you've heard from other people?
Ain't nobody...
I'm just saying in general that you've heard.
No, girl.
Those are your words.
Yes, girl.
I have a question. Is there a situation in your life where you're holding a grudge against someone and you have yet to forgive?
Like, currently?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can you please share with us?
Hex to them.
Okay. She wouldn't forgive her son who killed her daughter-in-law and her grandchildren. And a lot of you would probably agree. A lot of you might even be holding grudges right now. A lot of you may or may not, but a lot of you know what it's like to not forgive. A lot of you have situations that haven't happened where you're like, oh, if this happened, hypothetical situation, oh, if this happened, oh, I ain't forgiven, oh, I'm not forgiven. I've even heard a licensed clinical therapist who really speaks about narcissism a lot and all that, say that one of the biggest problems is that we forgive narcissists. And when I heard that, I'm like, whoa, that's not the problem. And I've even had someone this year tell me that I'm too forgiving. I'd never understood someone being called too forgiving or too loving or too caring. I just don't believe that there's any such thing as being too much of something good. I've heard, I'm just saying an example. I've heard, you're being too loving. You need to pull that back. If I feel like I am being too loving when I'm just a loving person, I'm just gonna hurt and move on to a different situation. Because if you feel like you have to pull back the amount of love you give, that is not a situation you should be in. If you feel like you are being too nice, no, maybe you just don't respect yourself and let people walk all over you. Or need to set some more boundaries. And maybe you're not too forgiving, which I know I'm not, but I've been in situations where I've given people who don't deserve it chance after chance after chance. Forgiveness equates to self-respect. How? Because you're respecting yourself by not keeping yourself and allowing yourself to be in a frustrated state of mind. If you don't know forgiveness, you don't know peace.
Are you the type of person to forgive and forget?
Great question. So that's interesting. I feel like it's extremely important to forgive because forgiveness is all about yourself, right? Forgiveness is setting yourself free, an act of self-love because you're respecting yourself. Everyone chooses whether or not to forget. Now, keep in mind whatever they did, right? Like if they did you wrong and you decide to put up with that, keep that in your mind, but don't hold that against them and don't throw it in their face.
Yeah.
Right. So I would just say forgive, but you choose whether or not to forget. But either way, I think the saying like forgive and forget, it just means like don't hold on to that. Don't keep that in the front of your mind.
Would you say you should always forgive someone?
100%.
For real?
100%. Why? Because it's for you. It's not about them.
Yeah, but what if it's not that big of a deal?
What if it's not that big of a deal?
Like the situation or whatever happened.
Then it should be easy to forgive, right?
20 minutes later.
My definition of forgiveness right there. Forgiveness is letting go of that anger you've held on because of what the person did or said. We forgive to let ourselves, I don't know what I said there, whether they deserve it or not.
So you would forgive your son if he killed your daughter-in-law. I'm using this example because this is how the topic started. This is how this discussion started. So you would forgive your son because you understand that forgiveness is letting go of the anger you have towards him.
Yes, but...
And the anger is only hurting you. It has nothing to do with them. I'm going to throw in a quote I've heard about, something about drinking poison. Hold up. Drinking poison, expecting it to like hurt the other person. Like for me personally, it's always been easier for me to forgive others, but harder for me to forgive myself. Because I felt like in so many situations, although I've maybe been angry because of what somebody did, I've been I would be beating myself up because it's like, oh, I chose to put up with that. Oh, I chose to put myself through that. So that's where you just gotta really give yourself grace every single time. And like, I have a quote on Get Your Peace where it says, hold yourself accountable, but don't punish yourself. And that was an affirmation that I posted up on my wall way before I posted it, because that was me speaking to myself, as most of those posts are literally me giving myself advice. It's always harder for me to forgive myself than to forgive others, because it's like, okay, well, I don't even have to deal with them. Even if I do, well, it's on me, right? But I actually wrote this down with fault. Like everyone plays their part, right? But with fault and blame comes guilt and shame. Say it with me. With fault and blame comes guilt and shame. So there's no need to point fingers at anybody, even yourself, because that is where the anger comes in. Like people talk about forgiveness as if like you're giving them like a freaking prize or something for what they did. I can't forgive them. I just can't do it. You know what they did? As if you're like giving them like a rose. Like, thank you. Hey, I know you did that, but we gon' slide that under the rug. That's what I think of. It really just comes to thinking for yourself. Like, that's obviously not what it means. I can't live peacefully if I'm always angry towards that person. I can't live peacefully if I'm holding a grudge and every time I see that person, I'm irritated. If you don't know forgiveness, you don't know peace. When you forgive someone, they don't have to know that you forgave them.
Yeah. Everybody knows that part.
I'm just saying. Everybody knows that part. They don't even have to know. You don't have to tell someone, I forgive you. Forgiveness doesn't mean, oh, I forgave you and welcome back into my life. Set a boundary. Respect yourself. That's really what it comes to. Respecting yourself. And when you forgive anyone, even when you forgive yourself, you're respecting yourself. That is an act of self-love. But as long as you know and have a complete understanding that forgiveness is for you and not for anybody else, you will be more forgiving. You will understand that it's okay to forgive, and you will live more peacefully. Promise you that. I have 0 grudges I'm holding right now. How many grudges you holding? Just one? Just that one?
9. So you know. I was reading my notes about forgiving someone that wasn't sorry.
Have you ever forgiven someone who wasn't sorry?
That's weird. Yeah.
Was that easy?
No.
I feel like forgiving someone who doesn't apologize and forgiving someone who you know isn't sorry are the hardest, because it's like, why should I forgive you? But it all comes back to understanding the true definition of forgiveness, understanding what forgiveness really is. Because yes, you're not sorry. It's like, yes, you're not sorry, but I love me. Yes, you didn't apologize, but I love me. So I'm going to respect myself, and I'm going to forgive you so I can just let that go and live peacefully and not have you in my mind. Like, do you ever get tired of like having them in your mind? Like, you're just angry and like they're thinking about them, like, get out of my mind. But you have control over that. You can let it go.
If they don't apologize to you, it's like, all right, well, like, then I don't want you around me anymore and stuff like that.
But I feel like that's good.
Oh, no, go away. What?
I just feel like that's a good thing in a way, because them not being sorry also helps you realize who you should or shouldn't have around you.
Yeah. True. I'm not good at that stuff, bro.
You're not good at cutting people off?
Nah, but I be feeling bad, bro.
Ooh. Guilt. Guilt will eat you alive. Guilt will eat you alive. It will eat you up from the inside out. Dead. I'm not even gonna lie. There's been so many times where I knew it was time for someone to be out of my life, but I felt like I had to give them an explanation, like as if I have to give them a reasoning for why I don't want them in my life no more. But it's like, what do I say? And I feel like it has to be a valid reason to them for some reason. I'm not explaining myself to nobody. I do when I know it's time for me to cut people off. What I do, I just distance myself, no matter what type of situation it is. So what do? I just do the distancing. Because I've come to a point where it's like, look, you did what you did. I don't always have to approach someone. And if I'm keeping them around in my life and what they did really bother me, I'm going to have to address that. But if I know I'm just going to cut you off, I don't owe you any type of explanation. You do that inner work. You do that introspection. You figure out what you did wrong if you really care so much. I'm gone. Like, bringing it all back to forgiveness. Like, I'm not mad. Just because I cut you off doesn't mean like... Just because you cut someone off doesn't mean you're angry with them, or doesn't mean you haven't forgiven them. You just know what's best for you. Again, self-respect.
I have a question.
Okay.
So how would you feel if someone was holding a grudge against you?
If it's someone like I'm not close to, gotta be honest, I don't care. That has absolutely nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you're holding a grudge against me, but it's also like, how would I know?
True. Like, maybe the way they act around you.
That's a personal problem. I'm living fine. But if it's someone close to me, I'm most likely unaware. And how would I feel? I'd probably be hurt. I'd be hurt that they didn't feel like they could come to me and talk to me about it.
True.
That's my answer. That's just someone close to me. Anybody else, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Too bad. That's anyone holding a grudge. It's all about the person holding the grudge. If I'm holding a grudge, that's on me. What that got to do with the person who hurt me? Nothing. Because why? They're living just fine. They are feeling free. Flying, floating by. They're probably living their best life. And what am I? Stressed. When you're upset with certain people, you know whether or not you can talk to them. You know whether or not they're actually going to hear you out. And with this specific person, I knew they were not going to hear me out. You ever know someone, so you're like, okay, there's absolutely no point of me addressing this because they're not going to care, and I'm going to be more hurt. You know you're going to be angry if you hold your tongue, but you also know that if you express how you feel and you don't get an apology, you're going to be hurt.
Yes, bro.
But sometimes simply letting it out, write it down, send them a little letter, send them a note, send them a message, Don't even have to be a phone call or face to face. Just let it out, have them read it so they're aware of how you feel. And honestly, that's one of the hardest things because you don't get an apology and it's like, oh, I didn't expect it. But the fact that I didn't get it, like, dang.
Yeah, bro.
You really don't care. That hurts.
Yes, bro.
So I've been in that specific situation before where I've expressed to someone how I felt because it was like something I was holding on to for like years. And I got no apology.
Bro,
There was something this year where I was holding something against somebody and didn't address them about it. There was absolutely no point. I just kept my distance. But I didn't realize I was holding a grudge. I was holding a grudge. I was angry, actually. Because anger isn't always lashing out, going off on somebody. Sometimes anger is just that little feeling deep inside of you. And when you find out that anger is a secondary emotion, it makes so much more sense. You're feeling anger because you haven't dealt with that other feeling.
Right.
Your feelings are hurt. You didn't deal with that. Now you're angry.
Yes, bro.
But the craziest thing is when you're angry and you don't know why. Like I know I'm mad. I have this attitude, but what am I actually mad about? Like, what's the actual issue? What's the underlying issue? We made a word for this. We made a word for this. It wasn't con.
No, that wasn't for this.
Yeah.
Do you have a?
But in general, it's what's the connotation?
Oh, contation.
We made connotation. We made a word for when there's an underlying issue. When there's an underlying issue, that's connotation. I actually realized this year, one of my defense mechanisms was putting all of my attention towards something that completely didn't matter to me, convinced myself that I cared about that, and then ended up not realizing what the connotation was, not realizing what the actual issue was, because it really comes down to self-respect. Because when you're putting all your attention toward this, when you should be dealing with this, you're not respecting yourself. Now you're stuck. You're in a hole, and you gotta find a way to get out.
Whatever. You might have changed. Teeny bit.
You're lying. No, speak up. She said teeny bit, but go ahead, say it.
What part? What part do you think I'm gonna say?
I don't know yet.
You might have changed your part. My opinion on forgiveness.
I'm gonna cry.
No. What? You're weird. Why are you crying? You better keep this in right now, bro. No, you better keep this in.
Because sometimes all you gotta do is have a conversation. It's that simple, bro. This is actually very embarrassing for me. I don't even know why I just cried.
No, you know, girl.
People hear forgiveness and they hear, excuse it, let it slide by, slide it under the rug. It's okay. Reward them. Like, I don't know what people think. But we're conditioned to believe that forgiveness is something that it is not. So would you forgive your son?
Put it in the comments.
I'm asking you.
Oh.
Honest answer.
Can I say maybe?
Okay.
All right, maybe.
Okay. And now that we're wrapping it up, what is your definition of forgiveness?
Okay. Now we're
we're wrapping it up. So,
all right, forgiveness is taking the anger or upsetness or whatever that you have on someone,
towards someone,
yeah, and releasing it. Does that sound right?
Yeah. You know what? It's funny because at the beginning of this video, you were ready to get up and leave.
Wait, what are you asking me, bro?
You ain't say what forgiveness means to you.
Oh, bro, you could have just
answered that though.
You weren't saying crap, bro. Nah, bro, I don't want to do this time, bro.
Bye. Are you serious? And here you are. And here you are now. With a changed mind.
You got me. You got me.
Wow. I'm just speechless, honestly. And I'd like to thank you for being a guest on my show once again. And honestly, drop your comments on forgiveness and what you guys think about it.
And if you want to see me in the next video.
If you want to see her in another video, just let us know. All right. Thanks. No, real hug. Real hug. Put your arms around me and hold me.
You want this to be the thumbnail.